standards are so high. Is there something you can do in your role
It's a very good point, and I talk to the real estate guys as well, or even someone who wants to buy a home, they go, listen, I can't get a loan. So I go talk to the bank guys, go, why are you loaning money? And they go, because the regulators are on our behinds, going through our books and analyzing everything. They're making us freeze up.
Right.
So, and this is my view, the regulators do a good job, but if you look at least our responsible banks, which I think are in our area, when you go through this kind of a crisis, they'll inherently freeze up. They'll inherently go, we are going to be more cautious. But then you add the regulators on top of it, and you see the end result, which is money's not flowing. So they express the same concern, and they get the blame for it. They say, and they go, but it's the regulators that are doing it to us as well. So they're all ping-ponging the ball around, and I'm not maybe getting a very good answer on it. But I don't want to be in a place where I'm going to say, I'm going to mandate that, you loan money to someone who comes in with these standards. I think we want to make sure our regulators are doing their job to review that we have safe loans, but let's not have it so strict that, no one can access capital either.
There's some message you could send like that then, or
I get to talk to them all the time,
and I don't know.
Yeah, and I say that to them all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm not. In regard to the regulators,
It's complicated.
But the regulators, I don't have the ability to go in and tell them what to do.
Yeah.
But I think we should send a message very loud and clear that we would like them to be responsible, but don't put the screws on so tight where money can't flow.
So Wisconsin really became a flashpoint in the last couple months for all sorts of debates around, I guess, labor issues. When you were seeing on TV the protesters in Madison, and sort of as you were watching how that conflict unfolded and became quite a nationalized type of debate, how do you regard that? What happened in Wisconsin?
Well, you guys all know what happened in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I had a chance to talk probably for 55 minutes, and you get to see the issues that I face making decisions in Washington, and I think they're tough decisions, and I have no problem making tough decisions and coming home and explaining why I've done what I've done. But I don't have a vote in Madison. I'm not going to fight any more battles than I have to. I'm going to deal with the ones that I have. There are people on both sides of the aisle. There's people who say, Scott Walker did the right thing, and others will say he did the wrong thing. But can I maybe take the lesson that I'll tell you the lesson that I take from this. Look back 6 years, 8 years. We had budget issues in Wisconsin, but what do? We took the transportation fund to patch the hole, then the injured patient compensation fund to plug the hole, and then we took stimulus money to plug the hole. Why didn't we do this 6 years ago? Why didn't we say, you know what? The problem is here. It's staring us in the face. Let's address it. And if we had done it then, we wouldn't see the pain today. There wouldn't be this great divide in Wisconsin. And I guess my lesson from that is to say, let's deal with our budget in Washington today. Let's do it now. Let's not wait until, the Chinese aren't going to lend us money anymore, or when the Japanese aren't going to lend us money anymore, or when we've printed so much money that the value of the dollar has tanked. Let's not wait. We see that it's coming, just like we should have saw in Wisconsin years ago that this was coming. Let's address it head on, and that's what I'm doing. Because if we don't, there will be a day of reckoning that is going to be very difficult for people. I don't want to see that happen. And so I'm going to go around and talk about the problem. I'm not set in stone. If someone has a good idea on how we fix it, I have an open mind. How can we do it better? And I think let's take a community-based solution, from Wisconsin. What is it? I'm willing to hear anything and consider any ideas that anyone has. But that's my lesson: is to let's look into the future. Let's look to the horizon. Let's not look to the next election. Let's look to the next generation and say, how can we serve the next generation better than we would if we just served the next election? And that's what I'm going to do.
You're getting, your focus and the focus of a large part of the country right now is on sort of cutting spending, government spending, that kind of thing. Are you getting requests yet, though, from municipalities, schools, and all
All
that
the
stuff for
time.
all kinds of funding projects and things like that? And what's your sort of process on that?
You want to know what? Everyone understands we have to scale back, but every dollar that we spend on this person's project saves the government $10. Everyone tells me that. For every dollar we spend on my project, you save 10. And it's
So
been-
why not just fund them all fully, and you will have saved,
We'd have a
Billions.
surplus.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the. And so I sit and I
Well,
go.
maybe some are true. Maybe
Some are true.
correct.
I think some are true. I think you're
Well, getting
absolutely
back to my
right.
question, what's your process? How do you respond to that?
You know, so I introduced a resolution in the House, in our House conference, to ban earmarks. And that's not, I don't think that all earmarks are bad. I just think that the process has been so abused over the last years that we're going to do a 2-year moratorium and say, listen, we're not going to do them anymore. Maybe they'll be appropriate in the future, but they've gotten out of control. So we have a system in place where we're doing, competitive grants. So we're changing how the dollars are flowing out on those good projects. We're helping with those grants. Money still comes out of Washington. It may not be as much as it was in the stimulus years. Money's still going to flow. On those good projects, I'm helpful in reviewing or helping with the grants, but then also advocating for those ones that I think are appropriate.
And there are some of those.
Oh, yeah, I mean, listen, if you look at our rural areas up north, they're in some tough times. And you look at, water systems, sewer systems that are 100 years old. If on a need basis, can they make the argument that if we're going to fund some projects in the country, there should be funded? Sure. And was it easier when the earmark process was available? Absolutely. But I think it was abused, and I think that it's okay to go through this level of oversight and review and restraint to make sure we're getting to the areas in most need.
Who do you think should be the next senator from Wisconsin? Were you disappointed that Paul Ryan didn't run?
I thought Paul was going to throw his hat in the ring. I thought he was. I didn't have a conversation with him at all about it. I haven't talked to him since Senator Cole announced that he wasn't running. So I had no inside information, but I thought Paul would run. I don't know. I don't know who's going to jump in. I've heard Tommy Thompson might get in, and I've heard a few others that are talking about getting in.
Would you like to announce your campaign here today?
No, I'm not running for Senate. I'm incredibly happy where I'm at. Oh, there was an outcry, though. Just kidding.
Of support, right.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Since we're live streaming this.
Yeah, live stream. That was a joke.
If, and so then how about, do you have any thoughts on the GOP presidential candidates? You have favorites, you have folks that you wish would run?
I don't. I don't have a favorite. I don't.
I know your press secretary has expressed some support for Mitch Daniels to run.
Has he?
Not a full endorsement or anything, but I saw him twittering about it.
Yeah, and frankly, what Mitch has done in Indiana there's some good things. So I think he would be a strong candidate. I think it'd be interesting. I think people are willing to hear a straightforward message. I don't know that we have anyone that meets the charisma of President Obama, but I think people might be willing to go, help me fix my problems, help us get the economy back on track. So I think that that's an opening for a GOP candidate. I'm not saying that Mitch Daniels is not. It doesn't have a little
Very,
sparkle.
very super exciting.
Yes, I'm not saying that. So no, I don't know. I'm going to sit and watch the field, but I think it's going to be a fascinating 2 years, especially. I mean, if you think about Wisconsin, this was going to be a targeted state. I think for the presidential cycle, I think we have a few congressional seats, maybe one in particular that's going to be targeted. I'm not going to say which one. But now it's going to be even more interesting with an open Senate seat here. I think we're going to be kind of at a focal point again, like we were in 2010, again in 2012. So it's going to be interesting.
I just have one
Yeah.
one question, I guess. What is Osama bin Laden's death? What is that? What does it mean to everything? What's your perspective on it? And maybe
To everything.
So can I tell you, I was in the command center, the Special Ops Command Center, 2 nights before
Is that right?
they launched the mission. It was actually supposed to be the night before. We met with Admiral McCraven and, well, actually, we met with admirals and generals when we were there. It was fascinating to see our technology. If you ever watched 24, it was kind of like CTU on steroids. Wall of, TV screens, it was a fascinating place to look at. It's remarkable the technology that we have and the teamwork that takes place to make these operations go off, to the point where 87% of every operation they run, a shot's not fired. They surround them and they come on out peacefully, and we get their information, and usually within 9 days on average they're released, and that's on people. People aren't dying in these raids. But I think back to Osama bin Laden, I think it's a testament to our will to say we're gonna see this thing through. We're not gonna give up. We're gonna pursue a guy who killed 3,000 Americans in all corners of the earth, and we're not gonna let it go. Even though it was tough, it was probably disheartening at times to think we couldn't find him, but we held strong, and in the end we got our guy. And I think it was a proud day for Americans in the sense that was there some vindication that this mass terrorist was brought to some form of justice? I think so.
What do we do now about Pakistan, though? I mean, just about everybody.
I thought we were done now.
Pakistan,
Sorry.
somebody relatively high up in Pakistan knew something.
Absolutely.
And we continue to give them military and other aid. We continue to have a strained diplomatic relationship
Absolutely.
with them.
I thought one, that's a pretty simple answer to say. I mean, why would we send them billions of dollars? We have to believe that some of the military and or the government knew that he was there. I have a hard time believing that someone didn't know, and they weren't sharing that with us. Some had also pointed to the fact that in the early 90s, we used to have this military-to-military operation where they could send their top guys to train at West Point and other places. There was a concern about Pakistan and terrorism. We cut off that relationship in the early 90s. And so what they did is they teamed up with Russia and China. And so now this new breed of Pakistani military leadership doesn't have that American experience and that American relationship. It's a Chinese and Russian relationship. And I think some will say we're paying the price for that, breaking off that relationship. Today we're paying for it. And so I would be hard pressed to go, let's send them more money. But I also want to be smart about how we deal with this as well. They have nuclear weapons. Can we, and I don't have enough information on how the money is being worked. I don't have any more information than you do. But I want us to be smart to make sure that we don't cede a nuclear Pakistan, close up relationships and see it go radical on us either. That can be devastating too. So again, things can get complicated. I think we have to walk very carefully if we're going to continue to give them any money. What are the rules on how we're going to deal with that? And I guess, the tailpiece of our helicopter that is shared, what we think potentially shared with the Chinese. How friendly is that
with
to
that
us?
new generation helicopter
Absolutely.
that they blew up.
That make you mad? Absolutely. If you wanna extend an olive branch to us for harboring this guy, it might be to say, listen, we're going to give it back to you immediately. That wasn't the case. So I don't know if they gave the Chinese an opportunity to view it. Some of the press releases would say yes, they did. That should make us all mad.